Everyone, welcome to another edition of VC Wisdom Podcast. Today with us, we have Beth Faus. She is VC and investor at Notion. She invests mostly in B2B SaaS. Beth, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and tell us a bit more about Notion?
Yes, of course. Hello, Charles. Very happy to be here. So I am an investor at Notion. I'm originally Spanish from Barcelona. So started my career as a strategy consultant. I was very curious on the whole entrepreneurship and startup world from the beginning. So did some angel investments, had a lot of friends building companies. So I soon got very interested in the whole space. So moved to London, ended up doing my MBA at London Business School, engaged with a lot of VCs and startups and doing some sort of side projects while I was doing my MBA, and ended up meeting the team at Notion, which they are fantastic, a fantastic B2B SaaS investor leading the European market. So ended up joining them almost a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I would say. And for those that don't know Notion, we are a London-based B2B SaaS investing Series A. We've been around for 12 years, investing typically mostly in Europe, I would say, and with strong sort of entrepreneurial backgrounds that start from the founding partners building a few companies across the whole investment team.
So what's different about Notion? Is it the culture? Is it the investment thesis? Can you tell us what's special about it?
Yeah. So I think the one thing that it's significantly special is the fact that it comes on the back of a business, of an exited business. So the founding partners have known each other since childhood. They've built 3 companies together, and the last company they built, it was a company called Message Labs, scaled that company up to 150 million of ARR, became one of the largest SaaS businesses in Europe, grew to the US, and at some point when they were about to IPO, markets crashed, so never really made it, and decided to sell the business and start Notion on the back of it. So literally Notion One was their own money and their willingness to really invest and help on those early stage founders that were building companies in the same space that they were sort of operating a few years back. And this relationship and this really sort of willingness to help the founders and being on the other side of the table as a sort of part of the DNA of the fund has really translated on the way that we engage with founders on a daily basis. So I would say, very much on the founder side, just because the partners themselves nowadays still feel that they are founders, so still feel that they are part of that entrepreneurial journey. So and then I can go on sort of the different type of areas and help that we give out founders, but the fact that this is sort of part of the DNA, that empathy with the founder, it really translates to the way we engage and invest.
So why does one become a VC? Is it because investing takes less time and just a better way to make good money quick? Is it because you deal with a portfolio of company and you learn about business quicker? Why did you choose to be a VC?
Yeah. So as mentioned, I was doing consulting before, where I chose that because you learn from different industries and you learn you understand how companies and corporates work. And what I realized is that I was very much interested on learning different about different companies, about different industries, about different sectors, but it was just not the space and the type of companies that I wanted to be learning from, and neither the people that I wanted to be sort of working with. So ended up basically investigating and going through an exploration phase. And BC is how I ended up in BC is by chatting with a lot of different people that almost convinced me that it was a better way to really mentally be super super up to date to what's happening in the tech world, to be engaging with sort of super smart people, super sort of ambitious and driven, and that it just sort of your day to day, it's just so fun, like talking to super cool founders, going to a bunch of different networking events. And obviously there's a side of VC that isn't as fun, but overall the fact that we are sort of helping those founders and we have an impact on those companies, it's just very powerful. And as said earlier, it's just intellectually super interesting. As literally every 10 minutes, I'm like working on a different topic.
No, for sure. I love the theory of things when it comes to like generalists via specialists. I'm more of a generalist. I can take insights from one place and connect it with a totally different side of things, and the brain tends to make connections that way better. So yeah, it must be super cool. What's the less fun side of VC?
What's the, sorry?
Less fun side. You talked about a less fun side of VC. So what's
yes.
the downside?
Yeah. So being the thing I challenge myself the most is being prioritizing your time, because you can always spend more time analyzing deals. You can always spend more time networking or sourcing. So really being able to step back and prioritize, where do you want to spend your time? Where is important for you to spend your time? That is the most challenging thing that I have to face, that I would say that I'm facing in VC. The less fun is saying no to founders and just being on calls that you already see that it's gonna be a no, and you already still have 25 minutes to go, and it's like, you're a great founder, but it's just this is not going to be a fit. For whatever reason, it might be because it isn't growing fast enough for our criteria. It might be that gross margins are just not exactly there, that it's a sector that we've looked in the past and internally there isn't a lot of conviction. So it might be very external factors to the company and the founder. But unfortunately for the founder, it's still a disappointment because it's another no. So yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to take no's as an answer, because us founders, we have a bit more of ego than other people, and we take it a bit more personally. I guess with experience, the no's become very valuable. With time, you really understand with experience that, hey, okay, maybe this is a no, but maybe I can learn a couple of points here. Maybe I can listen to what Beth has to say and maybe improve on those points.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't get easier.
I always try to give as much feedback as I can, especially if it's sort of constructive feedback that can help. And then again, there's just sometimes that the no comes from a side of VC that founders don't see. Sometimes, let's say, we might have just done a deal in insurance, and this is a fantastic company, but we're not going to do 2 deals in the same space within 6 months. So, or it might be that because of the fund dynamics, we just did too many early deals, and our LPs want to see some deals that are a bit more large sort of later on. And it's just, it came on the wrong moment for our fund cycle. So, and that's just very frustrating because there's nothing that the other person can do.
Yeah, 100%. And you never know when they're going to come back to you. Like if they're really dynamic and epic kind of people, we get these superhumans every now and then. Sooner or later, they're going to come back in front of you with another beautiful idea after exiting that one. So you always want to stay nice to these folks. And yeah, like me on my side, I get to say no to a lot of people on a daily basis, whether it is even clients that I don't think they're fit or employees, for example. And I always find myself uncomfortable, even for this podcast, So I guess it's also practicing, the more you do it, the more you become kind of desensitized to saying no to another human. And yeah, the importance to give feedback. So very good tips on that. Talking about this, you and I, we spoke that you were specialized in B2B SaaS. What kind of investments have you made lately, and what kind of investment do you count on doing in the near future?
Yeah. So within Notion, as mentioned, we specialize in the only B2B SaaS. Within that, it can be a broad type of company sectors, and obviously sort of a lot of different companies. The ones that I've been focusing mostly, I would say the two areas that I've been focusing a lot in the last year or so. One is climate tech, which I'm very passionate about, and I think it's a super interesting space, growing space, that I'm just also personally and genuinely very interested. Unfortunately, haven't done any investments in that space yet, although having spent quite a lot of time, so hoping to do one soon. And then the second area that I really like, although it might look very broad, but it is anything that falls within future of work. So any tool that would help any team within a company make their work easier, more efficient, more, let's say, sort of less time, or just, empowering maybe certain users within certain teams. Give an example: salespeople, SDRs, with their outreach, with their managing their sort of pipelines, being more efficient on taking those leads through the pipeline. So I've been looking at a lot of different tools that help with efficiency. And I've been looking as well at a lot of like communication and sort of HR type of tools. One of the deals that I did in the end of last year, beginning of this year, so a few months back, is a company called Flip, which is in the communication. It's a communication app for deskless workers. So essentially, our thesis here was that we have a lot of different ways to communicate amongst ourselves. We have Slack, email, and 100 other sort of ways that we can communicate. But there's a whole set of employees that are on site, on the ground, in touch with sort of the customers. It might be because they are in retail stores, in supermarkets, in factories, and they don't have an email. They don't have a way to communicate amongst their maybe other offices, amongst headquarters, amongst them. So this app essentially is empowering those employees to communicate amongst each other and with headquarters, and obviously it has a whole set of functionalities that can come and tag along those, such as shift management and others. But anyway, this is sort of one of the deals that I'm extremely excited about, and I think it's a massive space where when I think about the investments we've done from the B2B SaaS perspective, we've always invested in desktop employees and never sort of deskless on the ground employees, tools for those employees. So just very excited about that one. And then you've also asked upcoming deals. Yeah. So I can give you a glimpse on a couple of deals that I'm looking at now, more in depth. One is in the cyber insurance space for SMEs. Also very interesting space. It's a set of customers that aren't very professionalized, that don't have anything in place within sort of a cyber insurance tool, and even less, cyber security tools that are very sort of solid, let's put it this way, and obviously not in the insurance space either. So very interesting. This is a business model selling through brokers. And then another one that I'm looking at the moment is an EV charging software solution, selling the software part to those EV charger to those companies that are offering EV charging sort of solutions to their employees or customers. So this can be a parking, a supermarket, can be a hotel, can be a company itself that wants to offer sort of their employees that have electric vehicles to charge that car. It can be even be a purely hardware EV charging station that wants to embed the software for their, let's say, homeowners, so that they can program when to charge their vehicles, so that they are sort of they save money there. So yeah, both sort of, I would say, very interesting spaces, growing markets, super strong founders. Yeah.
Super interesting. So I'm curious, what is so interesting in clean tech nowadays? What trends do you see, and why is it so exciting for the VC world?
In climate tech?
Yeah, green tech, climate tech.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a bit limited because I can only do B2B SaaS. So I've been looking a lot into into carbon accounting tools, which is an area that it got very crowded, but we still see some interesting companies that are helping their customers properly, that give the tools for those customers to track and reduce those carbon emissions. We find that having a vertical solution helps a lot, especially with the being able to assess those carbon emissions. That's a sort of very hot space that, again, it's starting to become pretty crowded. A second area that I've also been looking at a lot, that I'm very bullish, is the voluntary carbon credit market, where I've seen different tools, some on the fintech side, others more on the marketplace side, matching demand and supply. But essentially, it's we've seen sort of in the news and around conferences around the world that corporates want to go net zero. They want to offset their carbon, their carbon footprint, and essentially they need tools to do that. So it is a clear, market that is growing, that corporates are going in that direction, although still quite not there yet. So it is a long process to go. It is still a small market, although growing at a fast pace. It's still small, yeah, I'm a bit on the backseat there, trying to see how those companies that I've been speaking to evolve, because I do think that a few really interesting deals can come up from that space.
Yeah, for sure, super interesting. What's your investing thesis? Do you have a grading grid when you speak to founders? Like, how do you make the decision process systematized and precise when it comes to investing in a startup?
I guess that it's pretty standard, but we don't have a grid by itself, depending on where the company is. So we are a multi-stage fund, so we can invest from pre-seed to almost A and B. And that typically, most of my time I'm spending at the A stage. So depending on where the company is, I would evaluate that company with different lenses. In the meaning that if it's a Series A company, I would expect some level of revenue, some level of growth. Founder, I would expect the team to be pretty sort of solid, with a strong C-level members, with some strong hires, with balanced capabilities amongst the team. I would also, this is some of the cases that it's nice to have, but if those companies have been able to expand or sell outside their geo, whether it's a German-based selling to other European countries or UK-based companies selling to other Europe countries, this has it proves that you can build that repeatability when selling. Obviously, I'm not expecting that much from a company at a pre-seed stage. Our check sizes are also significantly lower, very different strategy where we are just really trying to build a strong relationship with a founder. So in that case, on that specific sort of stage, we would purely be looking at the founding team. The one thing, for example, that we want to see is that, you know, there's a CTO or one of the founders is building the product in-house, so that the founders are in control of the product and the tech. Just to give you sort of an example of something that, you know, we care. But yeah, it varies a lot.
Last but not least, can you share advice to founders and VCs if you're a VC and you're starting out, and if you're a founder and starting out, any tips/advice for these two types of people?
Yeah, maybe one tip for founders is that are starting out and want to go. Actually, one tip would be, think about what type of business you want to build. It is okay if you don't want to build a VC-backed business. Think about, you know, what's your level of ambition? Where do you want to get? In what time frame? And then with that in mind, get the right mentoring on what resources are good for you. I come across situations where I speak with founders that are just, it shouldn't be a venture-backed business. You can get some angels on board, and then a clear way of exiting that business would be as an acquisition, because you're building more of a feature rather than a product itself. And this would be one that I would give founders, you know, just speak with different people across different sectors. Speak to some VCs, that friends of yours that are VCs, so that they can give you the VC perspective and the VC mindset before you go and like fundraise and speak with everyone, selling your pitch, and then they might get back to you saying, oh, this is not a match. So this pre-assessment, I think, is very important. And then the second, if you do decide to go through the VC road, make sure that you first build your network and get to those VCs through introductions. And that's the way that you're going to get a call with that VC, rather than a, you know, called outbound. It's at least the way that we see things working better and faster, and where you can really catch the VC sort of attention.
100%. And as a VC, what do you recommend to be successful?
As a VC, as someone that might be starting their career in VC, I would say, you know, get out there, be a hustler. This is sort of the one thing that no one can take from you. So being out there, speaking with everyone, speaking with founders, investors, trying to be a very valuable investor from both the VC side, sharing deals, collaborating, as well as from the founder side, trying to help with intros, and just showcasing that you're a sort of true hustler. This is the I would say the one thing that is very valuable from the VC perspective, because essentially you're going to have to fight for deals, win those deals, you know, fight for intros. You're constantly getting yourself in. And I mean, it is pretty hard to get into VC in the first place. So if you're starting your VC career, for sure you're a hustler. So that is no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Beth, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about you and Notion?
So you can add me on LinkedIn. We can connect, and I think that would be the easiest way.
So Beth Faus on LinkedIn. Faus is Faus, and the website is notion.vc. So Beth, thank you so much. Have yourself a great day.
Thank you. Likewise. Bye-bye.